Welcome. Welcome to the Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assemblymember Cole. Dickman. Edgeworth. Gonzalez. Hibbets. Howdigy. Miller. Monroe Moreno. Moore. Nadeem. Chair Mosca.
And I am here. Thank you so much. And if you could please mark Assemblymember Hibbets, Hadigi, as well as Monroe Moreno present as they arrive. So before we begin, we'd like to make several housekeeping announcements. Please silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee secretary. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state and spell your name and state any affiliation for the record, then turn off the microphone each time you're done speaking. There are hard copies of the meeting materials available for members of the public. Members of the public may also access electronic copies of the materials on the Nevada Legislature's website. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes. In addition, the public may submit written testimony to the committee up to 24 hours after the meeting. We expect courtesy and respect in all our interactions during the meeting, even if we do not agree with each other's positions. And of course, committee members will be viewing items on their laptops like handouts and other documents, so please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. And with that, we will open the hearing on AB 261. This measure revises provisions relating to voter registration. Members, there is a handout that goes along with the presentation. A printed copy is before you, and it is uploaded to Nellis. This was a committee interim bill, and we are grateful that Assemblymember Nadeem will be presenting it today, as well as Mark Voloshin from the Secretary of State's office. So when you are ready, you may begin, and you do have 15 minutes. And don't forget to state your name for the record every time you speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chair Moscow and members of the committee. For the record, I am Hanadi Nadeem, Hanadi Nadeem, representing Assembly District 34 in Clark County. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 261 before you today, which revises provisions relating to voter registration. During the 2023-2024 interim, the committee heard testimony from the Secretary of State and county clerks about various aspects of the voter registration process, including signature, curing for mail ballots, and automatic voter registration. This bill seeks to implement a few procedural adjustments to the voter registration process to improve the efficiency of election administration. I will first begin with some background information that explains what led to the recommendations in AB 261. This information is also outlined in the handout before you and is on Nellis. Ballot curing, as you know, is the process followed by election officials to resolve reasonable questions of fact as of whether a voter's signature on a mail ballot matches his or her signature in the voter registration records of the county or city clerk. When the two signatures do not match, the clerk must contact the voter and offer instructions on how to cure the ballot in order for the ballot to be counted. We have seen a recent increase in the number of ballots needing curing. During the 2024 general election, more than 32,000 mail ballots had inadequate signatures and needed to be cured. Over 23,000 of these mail ballots were successfully cured, though more than 9,000 were ultimately not cured or counted as valid votes. In an effort to reduce the number of signatures that are flagged for curing over time, AB 261 allows registered voters to update their signature on file with the clerk during the ballot curing process. Their updated signature will then be used to compare against their next mail ballot signature. People's signatures change over time. So, capturing up to date signatures during the ballot curing process will help reduce the need to cure signatures during future elections. Assembly Bill 261 also addresses a component of the automatic voter registration process, including the mailing of certain notices by county clerks. After a person completes an automatic voter registration transaction and the county clerk has verified his or her eligibility to vote, the clerk must mail a notice that allows the prospective voter to indicate political party affiliation and decline to register to vote, among other things. The requirement to mail such notices has greatly increased the workload of county clerk since establishment of the DMV as an automatic voter registration agency 2020. County clerks spend a lot of time mailing these notices, and the burden will only continue to increase as additional automatic voter registration agencies are established. We have heard several times this session that our county clerks are struggling with high workloads. To provide them some relief, AB 261 shifts the responsibility of mailing the notices from the clerk to the Secretary of State. Both the clerks and Secretary of State support this change. I will now briefly go over the sections of this bill. Section 1 requires county clerks, when contacting voters for signature curing processes, to ask if they would like to update their signature on file in the county voter registration records. If the voter agrees to the update, the signature immediately replaces the previous signature for voter registration purpose. Section 5 is parallel section that applies the same requirement for city clerks. Section 4 contains the other key provisions of the bill. It requires the Secretary of State, rather than county clerks, to mail the notices required as part of the automatic voter registration process to prospective voters who have completed an automatic voter registration transaction. The bill does not give the Secretary of State authority to register voters that automatically remains with county election officials. The notices mailed by the Secretary of State will still be returned to the county clerks. This change in responsibility is strictly a matter of workflow efficiency. Section 2 and 3 make conforming changes to eliminate the requirement that county clerks mail the notices previously mentioned. Finally, Section 7 provides that the bill is effective on January 1, 2026, except the responsible parties may begin adopting regulations and making other preparations upon passage and approval. In conclusion, I would like to note that the bill draft request for AB 261, unanimously approved by the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections last year. Assembly Bill 261 seeks to support our county clerks and make the voter registration process more efficient. I urge your support of the bill. Chair Moscow and members of the committee, that concludes my presentation on AB 261. Thank you for the opportunity to present. I'm happy to answer any question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Members, any questions? I had one question for you for the Secretary of State. Do you know about how much it's been costing for the clerks to mail them out?
Thank you for the question, Chair Mosca. Mark Volashin, for the record. My last name is spelled Wlaschin. This process was implemented starting January 1, so we don't have very clear data exactly across all 17 counties. We do have information from the 2021 fiscal note, if that would be useful. But as of the actuals relating to this process, no, we don't have clear information on that currently.
Okay, thank you. So as I'm understanding and remember from the interim, it was really to help with the workload as the Assembly member discussed.
That is correct.
Okay, great. Okay, Assemblymember Cole.
I'll jump in here. So my question is this, and I think I just want clarification. So a person signs their mail-in ballot, it gets to the clerk or whomever, and they can't match it against the signature that's on file. And so what will happen with this is when they go to cure that signature, is it the signature that's on the mail-in ballot that then becomes their new signature on file? Is that how that, or will they be asked to sign something else and that's the new signature?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember. Chair, through you to Assemblymember Cole.
You may go direct.
Thank you. Mark Voloshin for the record. Excellent question, Assemblymember Cole. The ballot, as you described it, the ballot signature, when it does not match, it goes to that curing process. The signature that would be used as the latest version, really it gets added to the voter registration record, would be the signature from the curing process. Which again, not every cure requires a signature. There are, so that is part of essentially an optional part of it for the voter. But if they choose to cure a signature using a signature, then that would get added to the voter record, so that there would just be an additional one to reference in future election cycles to increase the security and ensure that the signature on that ballot does match the voter's signature.
Thank you. I think you did such a great job. And again, it was a unanimous bill in the interim. We don't have any other questions. So with that, I will open it up for testimony in support of AB 261. Each person has 2 minutes to provide testimony. I will be timing, but again, I don't start timing until after you state and spell your name, please, for the record. And members of the public may provide testimony in person or over the phone. If you are going to call over the phone, here's the number, 888-475-4499, and enter the meeting ID of 879-3930-3984. And with that, we will start here in Carson City.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Emily Prasad Zamora. That's spelled EMILYPERSAUD-ZAMORA. I'm the Executive Director of Silver State Voices, here to testify in strong support of AB 261 and also our Let Nevadans Vote Coalition. In the 2024 general election, 693,596 Nevada voters voted by mail, including 38.3% of Democratic voters, 29% of Republican voters, and 32.7% of a different political affiliation. We also saw an increase of more rural voters using mail-in ballots. That's about 47% of voters that chose to cast their ballot by mail. Through our election protection program, we are frequently asked about signatures and signature verification. That's voters calling into our hotline to ask these questions. Some of the questions that we get is, I got my license when I was 18 years old, and I don't use that signature anymore. What do I do? Or, I don't remember what signature I used when I signed my ballot, and they're worried that it's not going to match. For the 2024 general election, Nevada had 23,644 ballots that were cured, which means about 72% of voters needed to cure their ballot, and they successfully did so. On the flip side, that also means that there was about 28% of ballots that did not actually get cured, and that's 9,174 Nevada voters. We applaud any opportunity that we can provide voters to update their signature, and we view it as a positive step and a way of preventing future cure issues and a way of also curing up our voter rolls. This bill will help election workers process ballots quicker, and voters can provide updates when they're already getting contacted. We urge the committee to vote yes on AB 261. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca, members of the committee. Isaac Tenorio with Strategy 360, today representing Campi Legal Center. Isaac Tenorio, IZACK, Tenorio, TENORIO. Today representing Campi Legal Center. Campi Legal Center supports AB 261 because it's sensible policy that will both increase efficiency and ensure that accurate and up-to-date voter information is in the system. Having new signature data as part of the voter records will help minimize the likelihood that future mail-in ballots are rejected for signature mismatching. Streamlining this process will better serve the voters as well as the hardworking election officials administering our elections. We urge you to vote yes on this critical piece of legislation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kayla Maese, spelled Kaylah. Last name is Maese. I'm a civil rights analyst at the ACLU of Nevada, and I will just ditto what our wonderful community partner said. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, all of you. Anyone else here in Carson City in support? Thank you, and feel free to fill in the tables.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tara Webster, Tarawebster. I'm the policy manager with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, here in support of AB 261. In Washoe County, there's been a continuous rotation of county staff and officials that have historically been overworked during election cycles to the point of needing medically excused time off during crucial moments of our elections. On behalf of PLAN, we ditto the previous testimony, as this bill would shift the responsibility of providing efficiency in our elections to the Office of the Secretary of State, as opposed to county officials. We urge your support for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else here in Carson City, we will move down to Las Vegas.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and committee members. My name is Chanel Casanello, ChanelCassanello, and I'm the campaign manager at All Voting is Local Action Nevada. We're an organization that advocates for policies and legislative priorities that expand voter access to build a democracy for us all. We are here in support of AB 261. This bill shifts the responsibility to mail a voter registration notice to eligible voters from the county clerks to the Secretary of State, which would both alleviate county clerks' workload and be more fiscally responsible. AB 261 also allows the county clerk to update the voter's signature upon ballot curing unless the voter declines. Through AVL Action Nevada's work, clerks have expressed the overwhelming pressure and workload required to administer elections, especially for those filling an additional official position. Requiring the Secretary of State's office to send voters the notice lends a hand to county clerks while better streamlining the automatic voter registration process. Additionally, with this policy in place, the need to cure ballots in future elections will be reduced due to the increased updated voter signatures from cured ballots. This legislation is a proactive step towards addressing the issue of out-of-date voter signatures and improving the cure process. We urge you to support AB 261. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in Las Vegas? Okay, seeing none, AVH, if we can please go to the phone lines.
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 261, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Thank you, Chair Mosca and the committee. My name is Shelby Swartz, and I'm the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress and the Institute for a Progressive Nevada. We strongly support Assembly
Ms. Schwartz,
Bill 261
can you spell your
because it
name
makes
for the
voting more
record?
accessible.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. It is Shelby, Shelbie, Swartz, Swartz. I apologize for that. We strongly support Assembly Bill 261 because it makes voting more accessible, especially for Nevadans who vote by mail, seniors, those with disabilities, and also allows us to maintain election security. By removing unnecessary barriers to voting by mail, this bill ensures that ballots are less likely to be rejected due to outdated signatures, giving voters greater confidence that their votes will count. At a time when access to voting is under attack nationwide, AB 261 ensures that Nevada continues to lead in making our elections more fair, more secure, and more accessible. This bill strengthens our democracy by protecting mail-in voting and reducing the risk of disenfranchisement. We urge you to support AB 261 to make voting easier and ensure that every Nevadan's voice is heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Catha. That's spelled Paulcatha, and I'm representing the Culinary Union. Last year, there was a significant uptick in the number of voters who needed their ballot cured. And while it still may take time to understand exactly why this happened, our canvassers encountered a significant number of voters on either end of the age spectrum whose signature had likely changed over time, resulting in the need for them to cure. The government should take every opportunity to collect an updated signature from Nevadans to ensure that every vote is counted and reduce the workload on election officials during the critical ballot counting period. The Culinary Union urges the committee to support and pass AB 261. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Matilda Miller. That's MATHIODA-MILLER. I'm the Government Relations Director for Native Voters Alliance Nevada, and we're in strong support of Assembly Bill 261. I live with a permanent and painful disability that makes it very difficult to move my body, let alone use my hands, bend my fingers, or grip onto something without feeling excruciating pain. My signature is never exactly the same. Some days I can manage to hold a pen or utensil with tolerable pain. Other days, my fingers won't cooperate. Over time, my handwriting has changed significantly, not because I wanted to, but because my body won't allow me to sign the way that I once did. The problem is election officials compare ballot signatures to the one on file, often from years ago. And in my case, the signature I probably have on file is from a very long time ago before my illness took over my whole life. If that signature no longer matches my ballot and the ballots of so many other Nevadans with disabilities could be rejected, not because we're not who we say we are, but because the signature from years ago no longer reflects our present reality and should never be a barrier to having our voices heard. This bill ensures that voters like me have the opportunity to update our signatures so that physical limitations don't stand in the way of our fundamental right to vote. Regardless of your political or moral guidance, we can all agree on one thing. This is about fairness, making sure that every single eligible Nevadan, regardless of their age, ability, or circumstance, has the opportunity to cast their ballot and have it counted. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Rudy Zamora. On behalf of Chicanos por la Causa, we urge you to support AB 261. And just to keep it short, we did everything that has been said previously.
And Mr. Zamora, if you could please spell your name for the record, please.
Yes, that's RUDY. Zamora is ZAMORA.
Thank you. Next caller, please.
Thank you, Chair. The line is open and working. However, there are no other callers to testify in support at this time.
Thank you so much. Next, we will hear testimony in opposition of AB 261. If anyone is here in Carson City. Okay, we will move down to Las Vegas. Seeing one, okay.
Yes, my name is Ed Euling, and this problem is created artificially.
I'm sorry. Can you just spell your name real quick, please, for the record?
UEHLING. This problem has been created artificially by sending out mail ballots or mail ballots to everyone. Ballots should only be made by people who present identification, or I guess it would be possible to also send it to people who want the ballots. When they send in a request to request a ballot, then you can see the signature on that and use that signature and match the signatures. The problem here is the bias of the Secretary of State and the person making the presentation, Mark here, who have a bias against non-democratic voters. This happened to me in at a different level, where I was gathering signatures to run for office, and like other people that were nonpartisans, they had their signatures and the addresses of the people on the petitions confused, purposely confused by if they were not Democratic voters. And so this happened to JFK Jr., this happened to the Green Party, this happened to the nonpartisans. In my case, they voided signatures because the address had changed. Well, people move around, and they're entitled to move around. And so they just because they moved, the
Thank
signatures
you
were
so much,
voided,
sir. That
and I
was
was
2
unable to
minutes.
qualify
We
for the
appreciate
ballot.
your time. Thank you for being
Pardon?
here.
Pardon?
That was 2 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so
Anyone
sad.
else in Las Vegas? Thank you so much again for being here, and you can always submit your testimony in writing to the committee up to 24 hours. And then with that, we will go to AVH on the phone, please.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 261, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. My name is Iris Stone, IRISSTONE. I oppose AB 261. It's another bill that increases the centralization of Nevada's election processes and procedures. Yet our state covers a large geographic territory, and some of the less densely populated counties are vast in size. Who can verify a registrant's background more readily than the local county clerk? They live in the community that they oversee. The Secretary of State is located in Carson City, and any concern or issue regarding an erroneous illegal registration signature will most likely have to be resolved by verifying it with the local clerk. Voter registration and maintenance has become a big administrative workload in Nevada. It has resulted in increasing the tax burden on the citizens of our state. With NRS 2935768 taking effect last month, automatic voter registration was expanded to multiple government agencies. This will result in significant workload increase. Also, AVR combined with same-day voting encourages people to procrastinate and wait until early voting or election day to walk into the polls to register and vote on a whim. It puts an undue workload burden on the election staff who have to process tens of thousands of provisional votes. This delays election results by another 6 days after mail ballots are processed, which is already set at the 4 days after election day. If citizens want to vote, they should register more than 30 days before election day and update their signatures accordingly, so there's ample time to verify and validate everything. The voter rolls in Nevada are notorious for having thousands of registrants who move to another state but remain on the rolls for years. Wouldn't it be better time spent by the Secretary of State to have a robust verification process with other states so people are removed from the voter rolls in a more expeditious manner, so we prevent people from double voting and save money by not printing useless mail ballots? In closing, the legislature should consider rescinding this statute and avoid having to do this altogether. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon. This is Oscar Williams, OSCAR WILLIAMS from Reno. I'm opposed to AB 261 because of the method of transmission of my sensitive signature. This is all based on the premise that my signature is private information, but the Secretary treats it as public information. No, the signature verification cards and the return mail ballots is all going through the Postal Service, and I do believe there's some federal laws that are there to protect my identity, specifically the Identity Theft and Assumption Deterrence Act of 1998, known as the Identity Theft Act, and which amended 18 U.S.C. Section 1028. The signature verification cards and the return mail ballot envelopes that expose my signature expose me to potential ID theft and forgery. And if you merely found a better way to transmit the signature card and the mail ballot, the mail ballot, we used to have a privacy flag that covered the signature. But this year, our secretary unilaterally decided he would change that and expose the signature on the return mail ballot. And now AB 261 is the legislature's attempt to play cover for his executive fiat. I have never approved of exposing my signature. I don't think that I should be required to do that, to use the registration system or to cast a mail ballot. I encourage you to vote no on this bill and any amendments. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon. My name is Ellen Gifford, ELLENGIFFFORD. The process for signature verification and any necessary rectification, including the possibility the voter might provide a new signature that would become part of their voter registration records, is stated clearly in NRS 269927. Section 1 of AB 261 reads as an unnecessary duplication of an existing statute. Mandating that the county clerk asks whether the registered voter would like to update his or her signature in the records of the county clerk is also already a result of the existing statute. Section 1 also infers an intentional assertiveness should take place in the interactions between the county clerk and the voter, with repeated use of the term affirmatively. Directing a certain behavior, I don't think that should ever be a part of any legislation. And when the people of Nevada's counties elect their county clerks, they elect them to perform the duties mandated to them in the Nevada statute. NRS 269927 is one of those statutes the county clerks were elected by the people to perform. The Secretary of State was not elected to perform any of the duties in that statute. It bears repeating. The people elected the county clerks to perform these functions. Usurping the county clerk's duties removes the county's working relationship between the voters and their county clerks, adds a necessary step to the voter registration process, and creates a loss of visibility on the part of the county officials of the full county voter registration process, in that a portion of the process would be performed by another entity outside the county. This bill serves no good purpose and should therefore be discarded. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Thank you, Chair. There are no further callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will now move to neutral on AB 261. If you are here in Carson City to take a neutral position. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Cadence Matijevich, CADENCE, MATIJEVICH, representing Washoe County. And Washoe County does not have a policy. We're neutral on the policy position of the bill. But I do want to express our support for the interim committee and the speakers today recognizing the workload of our county clerks. And we do appreciate efforts to help them be as efficient and effective as possible. Madam Chair, you asked a question regarding the cost to counties to provide the notices. And I do have that information for Washoe County, so I'm glad to share that with you. For us, based on our current average of 308 voter registrations per day that we process, our savings would be $96,631 per fiscal year. So, thank you.
I think that was a good example of neutral. Thank you. Any neutral? I don't see any more here in Carson City. Anyone in Las Vegas? And anyone on the phone lines, AVH, in neutral?
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 256, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Apologies, that would be Assembly Bill 261. Chair, the line is open and working. However, there are no current callers.
Thank you so much. Assemblymember Nadeem, would you like to make any closing remarks?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Assembly members. This bill, I think this bill will make the voting process more efficient. And thank you for the support, for supporting this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And with that, we will now close the hearing on AB 261. With that, I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 256. We thank the Assembly member for running over from the Committee on Education that's still going on right now to get here. So this measure directs the Legislative Commission to appoint a Regional Rail Transit Advisory Working Group to conduct an interim study relating to regional rail transit. We have Assemblymember LaRue Hatch here today, and we'll remind you to limit your presentation to 15 minutes, and we'll have questions at the end. And you may begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair and Vice Chair and Committee. I am Assemblymember Selena LaRue Hatch. I represent Northwest Reno in Assembly District 25, and I am proud to present AB 256 for your consideration today. I will allow my co-presenters to introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Good afternoon. My name is Ann McQuarrie. Do you need the spelling now? ANNEMACQUARIE. I'm a member of the Nevada Rail Coalition and a member of the Volunteer Council of the Rail Passengers Association, a national nonprofit that advocates for passenger rail.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and committee members. My name's Gabe Christensen, GABECHRISTENSON. I'm the state legislative director for SMART TD. I represent railroad conductors and engineers in Nevada.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. So the goal of AB 256 is to start the process of getting regional rail within our communities. Now, I want to clarify a term. When you hear regional rail, I'm not sure what pops into your head, but a lot of places that have regional rail are places like Boston or DC or Denver that have these public transit rail systems. You might call it light rail, but I learned actually from interactions with workers on the ground that not all of those systems are light rail. Some are heavy rail and some are a combination. And so that's why we went with the term regional rail. But this is an issue that is very important for my constituents. I think it's important for many of your constituents for addressing traffic and emissions and all kinds of issues with getting around our communities. So with that, I'm going to go a little bit into some of the legislative history because we had some folks say, well, haven't we already worked on this? But in looking at the legislative history, actually the last two bills on rail were from 2017, and they were enabling bills for Clark County only that said that they were allowed to engage in rail public transit, but there was never anything that mandated, there was never funding, there was never a plan for how we make those things get off the ground. And so that is really our goal here. Fully functioning regional transit system with rail is not a one session bill, but this is the first step, we believe, of many in getting there. So I'm going to pass it quickly to Ann, who's going to give you a little bit of the history of the rail network and what they've been doing.
Again, for the record, my name is Ann McQuarrie. In 2021, NDOT completed an updated Nevada State Rail Plan to assess Nevada's current rail system and highlight what an efficient rail transportation system could do for the state. The plan evaluated rail in the state, opportunities for improvement, and concluded that developing regional rail would be a major contribution to meeting the state's environmental, economic, and quality of life goals. Though Nevada has little passenger rail service now, there are many opportunities for expansion, the plan found. The state's existing rail footprint offers a firm foundation for cost-effective passenger rail projects. At the same time that NDOT was preparing the state rail plan, a group of Nevada organizations, including rail advocates, rail unions, environmental and social justice nonprofits, neighborhood associations, and others, organized the Nevada Rail Coalition with the goal of implementing the Nevada State Rail Plans so that rail and public transportation will become central to our future transportation system in Nevada and the West. We see the Regional Rail Transit Advisory Working Group that would be established by this bill as a continuation of these Nevadan-led citizen and government efforts to establish and support an effective regional rail system in Nevada that serves the transportation needs of families, business, tourism, and both urban and rural communities. Thank you.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. I'm going to pass it to Mr. Christensen, who has on-the-ground experience about why this is needed.
For the record, Gabe Christensen. AB 256 would help address issues Nevada is currently facing and will continue to face for the foreseeable future with regards to infrastructure and budget shortfalls. With the increase in people relocating or visiting Nevada, our transportation infrastructure is being stressed in both north and south. Building new roads or even expanding existing roads is a massive financial endeavor that takes a very long time, and in many cases, by the time the projects are done, it's already time to start expanding again. Passenger rail could be a business creator in Nevada, and unlike roads, the carrier is generally responsible for maintaining the infrastructure. Rail, for the most part, has a smaller footprint than roads, and in many cases can be built on the existing right-of-ways for roads owned by cities, counties, and the state. It's a more environmentally friendly option. Passenger rails and mass transit in general can open economic opportunities that wouldn't otherwise be available due to lack of transportation residents may be facing. Something else passenger rail can do that roads can't is be adaptable. Routes can be increased or extra passenger cars may be added for commute needs, such as regular shift changes at the Tahoe Regional Industrial Center or on the Strip, or fans going to watch the Raiders, Knights, or eventually the A's play. Initial ideas include connecting Harry Reid International Airport to the Strip and downtown, and possibly bringing casino and hospitality employees to work to alleviate congestion. RTC had already had a plan and a map set up for light rail down in southern Nevada. In the north, establishing service from the North Valleys along the 395, Highway 395 out to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, and possibly along the I-80 corridor from Verdi to Vista and eventually Fernley. The need for solutions is growing more and more important every day. Passenger rail could be a quick solution with less funding needed to come from the state. There are billions of dollars available annually in the form of federal grants for new passenger rail projects that are generally distributed through the FRA and FTA. Operational expenses are less than roads, which require continuing investment for maintenance, snow removal, and other supportive expenses. Passenger rail could renovate possible platform locations and spur new business in the form of restaurants and coffee shops around these platforms. Ultimately, there is no one perfect solution, but this commission would help look at another option to fix the problems our state is facing.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the record, I'm going to pass it to Ms. McQuarrie, who will briefly talk about the economic benefits of rail.
We see the economic benefits of, Ann McQuarrie for the record again. We see the economic benefits of regional rail at 3 levels: to the household, to the local community, and to the regional and state economy. So I'll go through some points really quickly. How do households benefit? The average household spends 16 cents of every dollar on transportation, and 93% of that is to buy, maintain, and operate cars. If a household were able to live with one less car by using public transit, it could save nearly $10,000 annually. The total cost of driving isn't just in dollars, but in time. The average automobile commuter spends 54 hours per year stuck in traffic. A recent National Transit Rider survey found that half of all rail riders did not have a car available for their trip, so they rely on public transportation, Uber, Lyft, and taxis. The option to choose good quality public transit over a taxi or Uber can provide significant household cost savings. How do communities benefit? Regional rail provides connections, tying together destinations including universities, military bases, reservations, and health care, allowing people to more fully participate in their community. Economically, a rail station is like a freeway interchange. Property taxes in the areas surrounding stations can quadruple when they're developed with businesses that serve rail passengers. There can be a relationship between tourism and regional rail, as Gabe mentioned, so I won't go into that more. Diverting vehicle miles traveled from cars to rail produces savings to towns in the form of reduced road construction and maintenance, and transit and regional rail provide good-paying local jobs. Finally, how do regional and state economies benefit from regional rail? A rail system produces savings to society as a whole in lower highway deaths and pollution emissions. For businesses, there can be a gain in business productivity when access to broader labor markets with more diverse skills is enabled by expanded public transit service and reduced traffic congestion. Public transportation operations and capital investments are significant sources of jobs in the United States. An APTA analysis indicates that about 20,000 jobs are supported for a year per $1 billion of annual spending on public transportation operations, and nearly 13,000 jobs are supported for a year per $1 billion of spending on public transportation capital investment. And I know I've flung a lot of facts at you, so I actually gave to your secretary both what I said with a note and links to the sources. Thank you very much.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the record. So we just told you the why, I think, pretty extensively. So let's talk about the how, which is the actual bill. So there have been many, many efforts, and RTCs in Clark and Washoe have looked at this. They're engaging in feasibility studies now. There's been the Rail Coalition. But the problem is these are all happening in silos, and the legislature is not fully informed on how we can help support this. So the idea is to bring all of these folks together into a task force who will combine the information, and I want to make very clear, not restart from scratch, because there's been a lot of work done, but combine it into a plan. So you'll notice in the bill, Section 1 lays out that there will be a Regional Rail Transit Advisory Working Group. It will work through the interim, so this will be housed within our interim committees. It then lays out the members who will be appointed. I'm not going to read them to you unless you have specific questions, because I assume you have read it. But I will say, in conversations with stakeholders, there have been requests to add a representative for a trade association or chamber of commerce, which I am certainly open to. And there's been a request for adding a rural representative, and I'm absolutely supportive of that as well. So that is not in a written amendment, but it is something that we're working with the chair through and hopefully will bring to you soon. Below the stakeholders, it then lists the product of this group, and they will be meeting monthly. And by the end of interim, they should produce a study report that tells us what is the current state of rail and public transit, what is the need for rail, and where do our folks want to see it. What are the potential sources of funding? Because as Mr. Christensen mentioned, there's a lot of federal funding we are missing out on by not having this concerted program, as well as what will we need from the local entities, from the legislature, from private entities. So we have a functioning plan. It then says which public or private entities should be involved or oversee the planning and development of this system. And then they will come to interim growth and infrastructure with bill recommendations. My goal is that they lay out a plan so that next session we pass this bill, and then maybe the session after that we pass this bill, and we develop a plan to make these systems happen. Because as I said, it's not a 1 year or a 1 session process. Now, as far as the cost, these are housed within interim growth and infrastructure, so there shouldn't be an additional study cost. I explicitly said in the bill that these members are serving without compensation, and while we always want to compensate our folks, I think there are a lot of passionate people who want to serve their community and would be willing to be part of this in order to get those long-term benefits. And that is the bill. And so with that, Chair, we stand ready for questions.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember. And we will start with Assemblymember Moore.
Thank you for that, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I am a huge supporter of bringing in light rail to our state. I'm a joint sponsor, especially because consistently Las Vegas has ranked at the bottom when it comes to public transportation, and there are folks who rely on Uber and Lyft to get to work. But my question is, and you kind of answered it earlier, was about including rural representation. Would you also be open to including rural representation when it comes to the 2 citizens that would serve on this advisory committee?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the record. So yes, I'm absolutely open to that. I think that, especially here in Washoe, one of the main destinations that my constituents want is out to trick, right? And that includes rural counties. And so I think they should be part of it. I think if we could have a rail down here to Carson that all of you could hop on from the airport, that would be very convenient. And so I want them to be part of the conversation, and I'm definitely open to including them throughout the bill.
Thank you. Assemblymember Cole.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very happy about this. I think with my colleague, total agreement that this is something that we absolutely need. My question is, in having conversations with people in the Rural Transportation Commission and whatnot, that the use of existing railroad facilities that are owned by Union Pacific Railroad and perhaps others could be a complicated ask, but it's been done in other states, and I would want to make sure that that was part of this study to make sure we have those conversations. And if you're looking for a legislator to be nominated to be on the board, I'd be interested. Thank you.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, I love the interest there. Thank you. That is part of the conversation, right? And that's part of why I think that we need this group to identify what's the existing rail that we can use, and reaching out to folks like Union Pacific and seeing the role that they want to play or not. I think giving them 2 years to work out those issues and then coming back to us will be very effective.
Thank you. Assemblymember Hibbets.
Thank you, Chair. If I may start with a comment before the question. Number one, well, 2 comments, I guess. Number one, I love rail. I've been pushing for subterranean rail in the Clark County area for a while now. Nobody seems to take me seriously. Second comment, when it says 2 members of the legislature, 2 members who are legislators, my one suggestion for that portion would be a bipartisan split. And then why are we calling this a study when the outcome is already predetermined? Because under Section 1, subsection 8, sub A, an actionable plan to develop regional rail transit in Clark and Washoe. What if the study shows that it's not feasible?
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, for the record, I appreciate your enthusiasm, and we are with you on wanting some kind of rail system. I would say for your first portion on the 2 members of the legislators, this will be going to the Leg Commission, which I know is bipartisan, and so hopefully through that process we can ensure that. I am certainly open to discussing with the chair whether we need to specify that a little bit more. We have a lot of legislators from different houses and different parties, and so I was just concerned if I started saying too much specificity, then everyone would say, but what about me, and what about me? And so I will work with the chair on that, certainly. I think that the reason it's a study is that's just what we call things that we work on in the interim. And I think if the task force comes back and says, this is unworkable and we don't want this, then we would obviously honor what they said. But I would be very shocked if that's what they come back with, because I hear a lot from constituents that this is something they need and they want. We know that the RTCs are undertaking feasibility studies now. I would be very surprised if they came back and just said, this is a straight up no. But I am hoping they'll come back with, yeah, here are the challenges, but here's how we think we can overcome them.
Thank you. Vice Chair Gonzalez.
Thank you so much. And like, you know, my peers, I think this is definitely an issue that we hear about in our districts. It's something I hear about from my constituents a lot. And when I think about public transit, you know, I go to places like the East Coast or even like Oregon, and I get excited to like go on public transit because of just how the infrastructure is. And so I was wondering if you could maybe speak to what that would look like, right? Like I think of my district and how crazy the idea of implementing like an underground railroad would be, right? And so kind of just talk about maybe like the infrastructure piece of how that would actually look. Thank you.
Gabe Christensen for the record. There's a lot of different options that are kicked around. I mean, I like Chicago's, I mean, not elevating the train, but, you know, tying in the bus pass with the train pass and everything like that. But I would imagine like one thing the committee would, or the commission would look at was the RTC plan that was put together for light rail, if you're talking about Clark County. And then in Northern Nevada, there's been ideas floating around with existing rail infrastructure that Union Pacific has that has really, really limited traffic. That's somewhere we would explore, or even the possibility of sharing frontage rights with them and things like that. But I mean, that would be definitely something that the committee would look at. And I mean, it would probably go for the cheapest, most bang for your buck option that I would think, you know, but that's something that the commission as a whole would look at.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. And that's part of the purpose of the study, is to figure out where do we need it most, where do we have existing rail that we can already utilize, and where do our people need it, right? In Washoe County, I know for a fact we need something coming in from the North Valleys because our traffic is out of control, and we need something that is going out to Trick because there are accidents there every single day, right? But if we actually have a comprehensive study that involves the work that's already been done to poll our citizens and to look at feasibility, I think then we can have a better idea of where and how we can accomplish this.
Thank you so much. And then just to follow up, I know we said that this would be to the Leg Commission and this would be in the interim. Would this study then come back to us legislators, or would we be needing to watching that? Thank you.
Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. In the bill itself, it says they will report to interim growth and infrastructure, and that is the process by which we as legislators will then get to see the findings. So you will not have to be part of the Zoom every month to see what they're doing.
Assemblymember Cole.
This is probably more of a comment than a question, but there's a group that most people in like normal lives don't know about, but it's called the International Right-of-Way Association, and they have a chapter in Las Vegas. They probably have one in Washoe, and it's a group of people who are used to dealing with easements and rights-of-way and land acquisition. They might be a really good member on the board to have that conversation, because that'll be a really important part.
All right, Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for the record. So I appreciate the suggestion, and that's also part of why in the bill it says they can appoint any ex officio members that the task force determines. So if they need someone to come in and advise on any aspect, including that, sorry, I talk with my hands, so they can absolutely bring them in.
Great, committee members. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much. We appreciate you and that very helpful presentation. And at this time, I will now open the, we will now open for testimony testimony in support on AB 256. Each person has 2 minutes to provide testimony. Members of the public may provide testimony in person or over the phone. Same number, 888-475-4499, and entering the meeting ID 879-3930-3984. And please don't forget to say and spell your name for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager. For the record, I'm the director of the Sierra Club's Toyabe chapter, representing 40,000 members and supporters across Nevada. As you can see from all the folks who are shuffling to come to the front of the room, and we've heard from our members, people are really excited about rail. I haven't talked to a single person who thinks this is a bad idea and who thinks we shouldn't have rail in Nevada. So we've had an onslaught of support from Nevadans hearing about this bill who desperately want to see rail in their communities and have reliable rail infrastructure to take them where they need to go. Regional rail is a critical next step in bringing Nevada the infrastructure and mobility access that Nevadans want and need. Passenger rail can transport as many as 3,000 people per ride, often at faster speeds than traditional car transportation. Regional rail encourages economic activities along its corridors. It improves access and mobility for riders. We recognize that regional rail does pose some high upfront investment costs, but over time, all areas with urban rail infrastructure have found it to be a cost-effective solution for high-volume corridors. It requires less investment than highway maintenance over the long run and better preserves our roads for critical transportation that can't be taken off the road. In 2025 and 2026, according to my calculations at least, there are approximately $20 billion in federal funding on the table for rail investment that Nevada is missing out on. Regional rail, as you heard, offers more flexibility in locations and routes. During a Raiders game, trains could run more frequently and adjust stops appropriately, as an example. Rail is also quieter and more environmentally friendly than low occupancy vehicles. Overall, we feel rail is a really appropriate solution for across Nevada and for Nevadans, and we hope you support this bill. Thank you.
Hello, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. My name is Jackie Spicer. That's JACKIESPICER. I'm the Coalition Coordinator with the Nevada Environmental Justice Coalition. We are a statewide coalition of community organizations fighting for sustainability, justice, and equity in all levels of government decision-making. We are here in support of Assembly Bill 256 and believe this step towards creating a more connected, transit-friendly communities is crucial for the long-term and sustainable growth of our state. Last year, over 200 Nevadans shared their vision with us for reliable, convenient, and accessible transit options to transform our communities. Regional rail could fuel economic growth, connecting people to jobs, education, essential services, shopping, and leisure activities. Nevada cannot afford to lag behind the other fast-growing metro areas like Denver, Phoenix, and Salt Lake City who have already invested in light rail. Even Tucson, a city half the size of Las Vegas, has a modern streetcar which has attracted billions in economic development and created thousands of new jobs for residents. Additionally, rail and public transit enhance walkability, increasing foot traffic for local businesses and supporting vibrant communities. Electrified rail in particular offers significant environmental benefits by reducing emissions, improving air quality, and alleviating traffic congestion. Regional rail is a proven solution and not a new experiment. Los Angeles once thrived on a robust electric rail system from 1902 to 1955. The Pacific Electric Railway connected Los Angeles to Long Beach and fueled unprecedented economic growth between the cities. Prioritizing regional rail isn't about reinventing the wheel. It's about ensuring that our communities have access to safe, reliable, and affordable transportation options. Thank you for your time and dedication to the people of our state.
Thank you, Chair Mosca and committee members. My name is Caitlin Gatchalian, CAITLIN, and I'm the Nevada representative for the Southwest Energy Efficiency Project, or SWEEP. SWEEP is a public interest nonprofit dedicated to advancing energy efficiency, beneficial electrification, and clean transportation in Nevada and 5 other states. SWEEP supports AB 256. This bill would create opportunities to expand public transit options, including a rail system, in both northern and southern Nevada. A well-developed rail transit system would reduce greenhouse gas emissions by providing a cleaner, more efficient, energy-efficient alternative to driving, enhance economic growth and participation by increasing access to jobs for individuals without personal vehicles, support local businesses by improving customer mobility and foot traffic, improving public health and walkability by fostering more pedestrian-friendly communities, reduce traffic congestion by decreasing the number of cars on the road, and increase accessibility to essential services like healthcare and education, particularly for low-income and underserved populations. Additionally, this committee's work will be critical in identifying funding opportunities and developing a strategic plan for a rail system. By prioritizing sustainable, high-efficiency transit solutions, Nevada can reduce emissions, improve mobility, and strengthen its economy. Please advance AB 256. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Chair Michael Hillerby, on behalf of the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, here to support the bill. Thank the sponsor for bringing it forward. We're in the midst of a significant study in terms of dollars and have brought consultants in to help us look at the feasibility of rail in the area, including out to the Tri-Center, as has been mentioned during the original testimony. And we brought some consultants in that have experience in working with existing rail lines and railroad companies, which is not an insignificant hurdle as we do this. So happy to have others involved, and we'll see that report at some point in the future. Thank you.
And if you could spell your name for the record, please.
Last name is Hillerby, Hillerby. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Megan Ebert, spelled M-E-G-H-A-N. Ebert is E-B-E-R-T. I'm the Ward 4 City Council member in the city of Reno, representing the furthest north portion of the city of Reno, going up to Cold Springs area. This is considered the more rural area, and I just wanted to share some of the concerns that I have for my constituents constantly. This is the number one concern is infrastructure, the way to get in and out of the North Valleys into the rest of Reno and into other areas in the northern Nevada area. I think that this is a great option to move this process forward, to find ways to include light rail or whatever type of train system the study decides is feasible. And I think this is great for job creation in the area. And I just want to support the comments of the members that have spoken before me. I won't go into the same things, but just as a representative for a community that is greatly affected by lack of infrastructure and traffic. Currently, we only have 3 lanes to get over 50,000 people in and out of the North Valleys. I think that we just have a huge need for this, and it's a great way for us to help the community with public transportation.
Chair Mosca and members of the committee, my name is Demi Falcon. For the record, it's DEMI-FALCON, and I'm here on behalf of the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada. I also want to express my appreciation for an opportunity to speak in support of AB 256. So the RTC of Southern Nevada oversees public transportation, traffic management, roadway funding, transportation planning, bike share, and comprehensive regional planning efforts in Southern Nevada, including Southern Nevada Strong. The RTC is committed to advancing an integrated forward-thinking mobility strategy, which includes high-capacity transit and light rail. Our onboard mobility plan, completed in 2020, includes much of the comprehensive analyses that are outlined in AB 256, and the onboard plan also identifies key transit corridors and integrates extensive stakeholder input, data analysis, and funding considerations to guide potential future rail investment in Southern Nevada, which was mentioned during the presentation. And this analysis is going to be in support of the intent of AB 256. So we appreciate the opportunity to contribute to this important working group and remain committed to enhancing mobility in Southern Nevada. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, for the record, Carlos Hernandez, representing the Nevada State AFL-CIO. On behalf of over 120 unions and more than 150,000 members, we are in full support of the bill. Thank you.
And if you could just spell your name.
Yes, Carlos, C-A-R-L-O-S, Hernandez, H-E-R-N-A-N-D-E-Z.
Good afternoon,
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Shane Piccinini, Shane Piccinini. I am with the Food Bank of Northern Nevada, which, as many of you know, is located in the Reno-Tahoe industrial area in Story County. And we have firsthand experience with the horror story that is that I-80 corridor between Sparks and the center. We are deeply appreciative of the work that has gone into the creation of this bill, and we ask you for your support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. For the record, Paul Moratkin, MORADKHN with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is in support of AB 256 and appreciate the bill sponsor for bringing the bill forward today. The Chamber has a long history of supporting intermodal transportation systems in our community, which also includes rail. The Chamber has held a seat on the RTC's track committee since its inception, and we believe addition of a business seat to the advisory committee would also bring expertise and knowledge as well. And we appreciate the bill sponsor's consideration of that addition. Thank you very much, Chair.
Ross Kinson for KIN-SON, for the record. Northern Nevada Central Labor Council, but more importantly to this bill, Teamsters Local 533 up in Northern Nevada. So just, I mean, look, folks have put out the numbers, and so I don't need to go over that. I just want to briefly share a few personal stories. I mainly represent UPS employees, many of whom deliver out to Trick, out to Fernley, and out to Fallon. And it is every day that I get phone calls from my members that there's another accident along that corridor, and they are losing 2 hours waiting to get their goods out to these businesses who need those goods to get the things done they need to get done. And so to do something to alleviate that constant traffic flow and thus reduce the number of accidents out in that area would be huge for every business that goes out that way, on top of all the truckers who deliver those goods out in that direction. Secondly, we represent public transit employees, right? And we work very closely with the RTCs and with Keolis up in the north. And we've had many, many discussions with our members. This is something that they are very much for, bringing together a collective, actual regional transit plan. Because right now, as much as we put onto these bus drivers, it's just not enough. And so to truly have an all-encompassing solution is something that the workers are looking for. And lastly, just a quick personal story. I travel around a lot for my job, and I had the pleasure of going up into Seattle. I needed to go from SeaTac down to downtown Seattle. I went to look for a taxi and or Uber. It would have cost me upwards of $80 to $100 to get just from SeaTac to downtown Seattle. Instead, I was able to pay $3, jump on the light rail, and got there in just as much time as it would have taken. And that's very convenient. That's very, very convenient for anyone who comes in that area, and everyone who lives in that area was using that rail. So it's a huge need. I know I'm just repeating what everyone else said, but it really is important to our workers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. For the record, I am Matthew Parker, MATTHEWPARKER, representing the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen in support of AB 256. As I look at this good-looking committee, I am reminded that I increasingly find myself to be the old guy in the room. I don't like it. I'm not sure exactly when this happened, and I certainly didn't sign up for it. The fact is that I am now going on my 46th year of living in Nevada, all but 4 of those in the Reno-Sparks area. In that time, I have watched as the area has grown substantially and seen our system of roadways evolve to meet the demands of this growing population. At present, we have a number of roadway widening projects in progress in Washoe County, attempting to expand the capacity of several arterial roadways. The dirt that is being moved as part of these projects, my young one sometimes takes great joy in expressing the opinion that I was actually here when that dirt was originally put there. In my eons of life here, one thing I have learned unquestionably is that you cannot fix congestion problems by simply widening the parking lot. Congestion problems are sometimes more the result of the behavior of roadway users than the capacity of the roadway itself. This topic is well covered in the books Door to Door, The Magnificent, Maddening, Mysterious World of Transportation by Edward Humes, and Confessions of a Recovering Engineer by Charles Marone. If you've not read these books, I highly recommend them. The time is now to take a hard look at what role regional rail could and should play in our growing communities. We in Nevada can be proud that we have led the nation in many things. We have an opportunity in the future to again lead by developing a sensible plan to build efficient and environmentally friendly systems of both passenger and freight rail in the metropolitan areas of our state. This bill is an important first step in taking that path, and so I urge you to join me in support. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tara Webster, Tara-Webster. I'm the policy manager with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada here in support of AB 256. I share Assemblywoman Gonzalez's enthusiasm for regional rail. When I've traveled to U.S. cities, Denver is one of my favorite, and I would just love to see that here in Nevada. But I do really want to point out that this bill is really about equity and providing access to marginalized communities to get to see parts of the state that maybe they haven't seen otherwise, to commute to work or school or visit family, especially if their family is sick. AB 256 is a proven and trusted solution to move people who live in landlocked areas where I live, such as North Valleys in Reno, or in rural areas like Fallon to get to wherever they need to go. And so I'll keep it short. On behalf of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, we ditto all the previous testimony that Nevada is long overdue for regional rail, and we ask for your support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Mosca, members of the committee. For the record, Cadence Matievich, Cadencemetivich with Washoe County. Many of the previous speakers have talked about how this bill would benefit Northern Nevada and specifically Washoe County, and so for that, us too.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christy Cabrera-Georgeson, CHRISTI-CABRERA-GEORGESON. I'm the Deputy Director of the Nevada Conservation League. We just want to echo many of the comments previously made and urge the committee's support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And now we will move to Las Vegas.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Minjia Yan, Minjiayan, and I'm here as a general public, a resident of Southern Nevada to support AB 256, a crucial step toward addressing our state's growing population and transportation needs and economic development. As our state population continues to grow, we see increasing pressure on our roads and public transit systems. Traffic congestion and commute times are getting worse. And this bill is not just about a transportation issue. It is about an economic development issue. We cannot do economic development without having a robust public transit network system like a regional rail system. And here in Southern Nevada, people are avoiding to go to downtown and the Strip because of traffic congestion. I'm hearing a lot of people say they don't want to go to Chinatown to support the small businesses because of traffic congestion and hard to find parking. We're not the only city in the country that can host conventions, concerts, and sports games. Other cities like Phoenix and Orlando can do all of the above, and they have a regional rail system that connects all of these economic hubs to universities, libraries, stadiums, hospitals, and airports. And a regional rail system can improve connectivity between laborers and businesses, bringing people to jobs and creating more economic development and real estate development activities along transit hubs. It creates jobs not only during its construction and operation, but also create long-term positive economic impact to attract more businesses and investments to our state. Nevada is competing with other states to attract young, good talent and companies in different industries. And we need to have a regional rail network to maintain our economic competitiveness. So I urge the legislators to support this bill and help us, my generation, and future generations to take a bold step toward a more connected, forward-thinking future of our state. And as someone who grew up in Las Vegas, and I'm a proud Nevadan, I want to emphasize that our cities and state were not built by thinking small. So the question is not whether we can afford to invest in a regional rail system, it's whether we can afford not to. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Mosca and committee members. My name is Christian Solomon, CHRISTIAN SOLOMON, and I am the Western Regional Director for RISE, a Gen Z-led issue advocacy organization that advocates for student and youth basic needs, college affordability, and building political power on campus. I want to start by thanking Assemblymember LaRue Hatch for bringing this bill forward. RISE is in support of AB 256 because college students and youth are strong economic drivers to our small and local businesses. And further expanding transportation access will increase inclusion of young Nevadans in our economy and galvanize small business consumer spending. The lack of access to affordable, public, and walkable transportation infrastructure options isolates many students and youth from resources, upward mobility, and connecting with their community at large. RISE offers a plethora of events like our RISE University, where we teach students how to organize their communities based on the issues they care most about, and transportation access is a paramount concern to students of all backgrounds. AB 256 would create opportunities for a rail system in both northern and southern Nevada that will address that concern. Please support AB 256, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in Las Vegas? We will now move to the phone lines. Thank you, AVH.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 256, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits ending in 920, you are unmuted and you may begin.
Hello, Chairman Mosca and members of the committee. Thank you for taking the call. My name is Leo Palomo. That's Leopalomo. I'm representing Smart TD out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Local 1117. I'm the local president and assistant state legislative director. I want to testify in support of AB 256. Much of the things that everybody has mentioned, the Raiders, the Golden Knights, the A's coming to town, aside from T-Mobile Arena, UFC events, concerts, all pretty much isolated to one particular area. It gets pretty congested down there, and all those events do tend to overlap, leading to tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of people converging on the same area. I think one of my journeys, I worked for Union Pacific Railroad, and part of that journey was having to work in Salt Lake City. I was impressed by the regional transportation that they have, how convenient it was. I used it many times when I was up there to attend jazz games, to go to training classes, and other things that made it very convenient. One of the things that people here in town, I'm also a small business owner in downtown, and one of the main complaints that I hear are people are fed up with looking for parking and having to pay for parking, which is something that I think a light rail line can certainly solve. So I appreciate your time, and I urge you to support this bill.
Thank you. Next caller.
Good afternoon, committee members and Chair Mosca. My name is Marco Vallata. I am a resident of Henderson, Nevada. I'm speaking on my own behalf. I am
Could you spell your name
voicing
for
my
the
support
record?
for Assembly Bill MARCOVELOTTA. I'm speaking in support of Assembly Bill 256. I am a city planner, and it's been a century since streetcar transportation has been circulating through Nevada as a form of public transportation. 100 years ago, streetcars went down 4th Street between Reno and Sparks to the gates of UNR and to Moana Springs. This has been an issue that's been under study for decades, and with planning efforts and the previous mention during the community presentation on the potential for transit-oriented development, this is something that Southern Nevada and Northern Nevada need in terms of economic development and just for solving transportation issues. There are many efforts that have been led over the years, and I hope that Assembly Bill 256 and the study that comes of it will help bring together some of the thoughts that had been previously discussed to get a viable transportation network for our metro areas so that we can get to a point where we are competitive with our other peer cities. Phoenix, Salt Lake City, Denver, they've all seen the benefits of rail-based transportation, and this is one way to get us a little bit closer to that reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller.
Hello, Chairman Mosca and the committee. My name is Ron Kamenkow. That's RONKAMINKOW. I'm here to speak in favor of Assembly Bill 256 on behalf of Railroad Workers United. I'm a recently retired locomotive engineer, just worked for Amtrak for the last 20 years here in Reno. I'm also a member of the Rail Passengers Association, the Rail Users Network, the Sierra Club, Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen Division 51, and of course the Nevada Rail Coalition. The potential for passenger rail in Nevada is huge. And I just want to draw some attention very quickly to some of the regional transit systems that have developed in the last 30 years. It's hard to believe, but Albuquerque, Denver, Salt Lake City, Marin County, and even Sacramento's Capital Corridor to the Bay Area did not really exist 30 years ago, but now they all exist and they're flourishing. So now's the time for Nevada to get started. And just like those systems, we have the advantage that there is an existing rail network. Around the country, many regional rail systems have partnered with CSX, Norfolk Southern, BNSF, and Union Pacific to build out these systems. In Reno, a lot of the trackage in this vicinity is very lightly used. The Reno branch to the North Valleys that goes through, Panther Valley, Lemon Valley, and goes up to Bordertown and beyond has perhaps 3 train movements a week, almost void of traffic. Same thing once you get west of Fernley at Hazen, branch over to Fallon, down to Hawthorne. This may not be on the agenda right now, but once we get an immediate regional rail system built out in Reno Sparks, eventually it can push farther out into these more rural communities within 50, 60 miles. So if you look at Denver, Albuquerque, the Sonoma, Marin Regional Transit, and even the Capital Corridor, these regional rail systems were built on either lightly used, abandoned, or existing freight rail corridors and brought them back to life. So we got a big head start here in Northern Nevada and also in the South as well, where Vegas is bisected by the Union Pacific Main Line.
We're at 2 minutes. We appreciate you calling.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next caller, AVH.
Hello.
Caller,
My name is Ron Ariel, and
go ahead. I'm sorry if you just.
and my
spelled your
last name is A. Okay, my last name for the record is Aryel. I'm a pediatrician, and I also own Duck Pond Investments, which owns rental housing here. I want to thank Selena LaRue Hatch for her excellent bill here, and thank the staff also of the committee for their hard work in presenting this bill. Rail transit here is a critical need. Transit triggers $4 of economic activity for every $1 invested. It creates walkable communities with a lot of pedestrian traffic. When you have pedestrian traffic, retail stores see double or triple the amount of business. That also increases sales tax revenues. It's a fact that communities served by public transportation are safer. That is lower crime than communities that are not served by public transportation. And obviously, there are benefits in terms of lower emissions. We cannot get to lower emissions using only electric cars. We cannot get to lower emissions by neglecting public transportation. I hope the commission will also think about financing. Okay, financing for public transit, especially to back bonds that are needed for capital construction, have included sales taxes. They've included property taxes, such as in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They include tax increment financing, TIF, and they also include passenger facility charge money, which is what the airport collects for infrastructure. The FAA has blessed the use of passenger facility charge money to fund transportation. I was a key member, actually, of a project from the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey to create a rail link from Kennedy Airport that used PFC money. So I think the financing should be discussed by the commission. So when they come out with plans, they should discuss how these plans should be funded. But we cannot get a cleaner Reno, cleaner Northern Nevada, which is one of the most polluted areas in the country, without rail transportation. And so I strongly commend this bill. This is a great bill, and I hope that you pass it and send it to the governor's desk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next caller. Caller, if you're speaking, we do not hear you. Caller, I'm sorry we don't hear you, so hopefully you can submit your testimony in writing to the committee. AVH, next caller, please.
Caller with the last three digits ending in 745, please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Caller, if you're speaking, we don't hear you.
Caller with the last four digits ending in 745, you are unmuted and you may begin. Caller with the last four digits ending in 745, you are unmuted on our end. You may begin.
I'm sorry that we don't, sorry, caller, that we don't hear you. If you can also please submit your testimony to the committee. Thank you. AVH, next caller.
Hello?
We hear you. Thank you. If you could please state your name and spell it for the record, and you may begin.
Yes, thank you, Chair Mosca and members of the committee. My name is Aaron Harris. That's AARONHARRIS. I'm representing myself in strong support of AB 256. Regional rail is one of those slam dunk issues that sees bipartisan support. Of course, we all know the environmental benefits as well as the clear quality of life improvements. However, I think the biggest benefit is our economic benefit. Every dollar invested in public transit adds at least $5 to our economy. As both Northern and Southern Nevada see explosive growth, we can't wait any longer to begin making plans for a regional rail system to serve our two main population centers. If you look at some of the studies that have already been done, if Las Vegas built rail between the airport, the Strip, and downtown, it would be the single highest ridership rail line in the United States and Canada. The other big benefit of regional rail is improved land use. A major issue in Southern Nevada is the available land for development. However, the biggest single driver of land use is parking. 40% of Las Vegas's land area is parking lots. Rail allows us to reclaim what would be wasted land by extending how far away people can park their car from their destinations. Instead of needing to allocate a parking spot for every 2 seats in a sports stadium, we can repurpose that land for housing, businesses, and public space. The most economically resilient form of city development is the traditional form that starts with the transportation node, like a rail station, which then allows for increased density, which then supports a diverse array of businesses and services. The first step, the transportation, is usually the hardest and takes the longest. Passing this bill, AB 256, allows us to develop a statewide coordinated effort to how we want to build out a regional rail plan that allows developers, industry, and businesses to plan around that future infrastructure and potentially saves us millions from going in and adding in regional rail as an afterthought. The reason rail infrastructure is so expensive in the US is because we wait until an area has sufficient density and intensity to begin thinking about how we're going to solve the mobility issues of trying to get so many people to the same place. Instead, if we plan out a rail system as we continue to sprawl out, we can concentrate that development more efficiently around future transportation infrastructure. For these reasons and many more, I strongly urge this body approved AB 256. Thank you.
Thank you. AVH, next caller.
Thank you, Chair. There are currently no other callers in support at this time.
Thank you. And with that, we will now hear testimony in opposition to AB 256. We'll start here in Carson City. Seeing none, we will go down to Las Vegas if anyone is there for opposition. Okay, and with that, AVH, we will open the phone lines for opposition of AB 256.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 256, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Oscar Williams again, OSCARWILLIAMS, from Reno, Washoe County. And what I understand from what I've heard from other people speaking is that the citizens of Washoe County are going to be paying for a rail system to feed Lance Gilman's industrial park in Story County. Will there be a stopover at his brothel? I'd like to know. I'd like to know if my tax dollars are going to help somebody from Cold Springs take a train to his brothel. Is that what this is going to do? I hope not, but it could. What is Story County's contribution in this? What about Churchill or Lyon County? They're not mentioned in this organized advisory committee or agency, and they should be. Are you familiar with the legal case called Clark County versus City of Las Vegas? The citation is 550P.2D779 from 1976. And in this, there was, from 1975, the legislature adopted the Metropolitan Cities and Corporation Law and the Urban County Law. The Nevada Supreme Court had some problems with it and shot it down. And this bill, AB 256, has some very similar elements to it. I'm not a lawyer. I can't say that AB 256 is unconstitutional, but it brings up so many of the same issues that the Supreme Court dealt with in that case I just cited. Specifically, they went into 4 areas: special legislation question. And I want to read something real quick. It says, the applicants, while conceding that the sections mentioned constitute local or special election legislation, contend they have only temporary application. Of course, what we're proposing here is an advisory board, right? So it's a temporary application, and therefore do not offend the constitutional prohibitions. The court said, no, you're wrong, and there were a lot of problems with it. Special legislation question. 2, malapportionment, the one man, one vote questions. Additionally, the severability questions. Additionally, the built-in bias questions. These are all issues that are inherent in the way this bill is written. And if you're not familiar, or your legal counsel they're not fluent with this particular ruling, and I believe that the
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for your testimony. We're
party to
at
this.
2 minutes. We appreciate you. AVH, next caller, please.
Thank you, Chair. There are currently no other callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. And with that, we will now open it up for testimony in neutral. If anyone is here for neutral testimony.
Good evening, Alex Tanchek, spelling on that name is Tanchek, with Civil State Government Relations representing Story County. Story County Manager Austin Osborne asked that I put on the record that Story County is one of several financial contributors and supporters to RTC Washoe's current Tahoe Reno Industrial Center rail study, which, as was previously mentioned, is investigating a proposed commuter rail system between Reno Sparks and the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. Story views the RTC's study as a positive, collaborative regional effort seeking to address regional issues in a collaborative way. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Any other neutral? With that, we will go to Las Vegas for anyone wishing to testify in neutral. Thank you so much. And please state and spell your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Ed Uhling, Uehling, and no one is more of a train romanticist than I am. I'm in my 82nd year here in Southern Nevada. When we moved here during World War II, my happiest time was going to the train station in Las Vegas to meet my uncles who were coming home from World War II. 3 weeks ago, I was in Japan and took the subways of Tokyo, the world's largest city, I think, about 40 million people, and took the high-speed train of Shinkansen from Tokyo over to Osaka. A week ago, I took a week ago I took the train from Guangzhou, China, to Beijing, the overnight train, which is a distance of is corresponding to Las Vegas to about 200 miles further than Seattle. Overnight train with a bed. It's my favorite hotel, traveling on that train, and arrive in 10 hours, do my business in Beijing, and return the next night. $100 for each trip. I love trains, but it's not, and by the way, no one has mentioned the project being done in Las Vegas by Elon Musk of the underground terminals. If you would just ask him for the original description of how that system is going to be, you would be extremely impressed by it. Unfortunately, it's not being built that way, but ask for his original plans for that, all the tunnels that are being built under Las Vegas.
And thank you so much. That
as
was
I say, I love
2
trains,
minutes, and we
but
really
it's not
appreciate
going to
it.
happen.
Thank you. We will now move to the phone line for neutral.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 256, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, the line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to invite Assemblymember LaRue Hatchup. We all thank you on this committee. Okay, so with that, we will close the hearing on AB 256, and great job today. Thank you. Committee members, we have two more things we have to do. BDR 24364, which is sponsored by the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections and makes various changes related to language access in elections. This is a committee BDR introduction. Members, please remember, a vote in favor of introducing a BDR does not imply a commitment to support the measure later, and all this action does is allow the BDR to become a bill and enter the legislative hearing process. I will now entertain a motion to introduce BDR 24-364.
So moved.
I have I have a motion from Assemblymember Miller and a second from Vice Chair Gonzalez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion carries. Okay, so our last thing on the meeting is public comment. Each person has 2 minutes to provide testimony. Written public comment may also be submitted to the committee up to 24 hours after the meeting. I will remind everyone of the call-in number and meeting ID for those wishing to provide public comment today. The call-in number is 888-475-4499, and the meeting ID is 879-3930-3984. We'll start here in Carson City. We'll go down to Las Vegas if anyone would like to give public comment. And we will go to the phone line, please, AVH.
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, Oscar Williams again. Just one final point to mention. In contrast, Florida has the Bright Line rail system. You may be familiar with the Bright Line. It's struggling financially. It's a beautiful system. Great thing that they've done, but they're not making enough money to make it sustainable. Consider that, all right? You got a lot of plans and a lot of numbers, but the actual dollars and cents may not pan out the way you think it does. That's all I want to say. Thank you for your time, and thank you for this great meeting, and for the chairperson. Thank you so very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller. We know we'll see you again or hear you again soon. Next caller.
Chair, the public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all these committee members. Our next meeting will be Thursday, March 6th at 4 p.m. And seeing no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.